2 on, nobody out. Chapman to center field, hit it well. Bay going back. Bay at the wall. It is gone! Chapman, a 3-run homer. It just wouldn't come down. His 3rd of the series. And we got ourselves a 1-run game. 2-2. On the ground, base hit. Soler is going to come around, and he's going to score to tie the game. 0-2. Wisely up the middle, base hit. Giants take the lead. Luciano scores, and Brett Wisely's having the best game of his big league career.
I tell you what, how about controlling your heart rate at such a young age? Doing what he did right there. Look at the boys.
Now, back to Willard and Dibs on 95.7 The Game.
Okay, that's Flem and Lopez. That's NBC Sports Bay Area. That's the Giants' victory. And, Luciano came in with some good pinch running. It was moments later that he would kick another one in the 9th inning. And so here's my idea. Marco can't go down. Marco can't go down. The OPS is over 840. Marco's not going down. So let's remove that.
Okay, I thought you meant he can't go down like as in to field the ground ball.
Very well played.
Okay.
Marco's not going to Sacramento.
Gotcha. Okay.
Marco's
now I follow you, yeah.
Okay. So if Marco can't go to Sacramento, let's work with what else can you do?
Okay.
Can Marco always play shortstop when that is arguably the most important defensive position on the field? I'd say arguably. Give me catcher for 1,000, Alex.
Sure.
Center field. Yep. Matt Chapman's taking over games at third base, whatever. But it is one of the most important positions on the field, no doubt. And he basically, you could make the case, he kicked a game on Tuesday night and he threatened another one this afternoon, right? Both of those plays were made in what inning?
The 9th, Mark.
Marco never sees the 9th inning again as a fielder.
I was in need of a closer.
Nick Ahmed, when he becomes healthy, is going to be the sometimes shortstop / defensive replacement at shortstop. Marco's bat plays innings 1 through 7 and potentially more when needed. Nick Ahmed is your shortstop in the late innings. If I'm the Giants, that's how I'm going to play this one when Nick Ahmed gets healthy.
No more kicking balls in the 9th.
We're not doing that.
So we can kick it in the 7th. We can boot it in the 5th.
You can rally back. We can
fumble it in the 4th.
Yep.
We can trifle with it in the 3rd. We can suck it up in the 2nd.
He's going to make most of the plays.
We can fumble up in the 1st. We can even stink it up in the 6th.
That ball got Schmidt on.
Yeah, I was going to go there in the 7th.
But we're not doing it in the 9th.
Okay.
So that's how I play it.
I like your plan.
Yeah.
Today they kind of did the invert of that. They started wisely. And
which
then
was circumstantial.
They had, and if you look at the box score, there was like 4 guys who were in that one spot based on pinch hitter, pinch runner. Now we need a fielder. Now we're going to pop them in there.
And they're short on outfielders. Right? So, for those of you, here was the cadence of the whole thing. Yaz is in right. They pinch hit at some point with McKenna.
In the 7th.
Going up against the lefty.
Yep.
Then you're in the 8th with a chance to tie the game. And McKenna is not the best hitter.
Right.
So they took the opportunity to put Flores in.
In the 8th.
Right, as a pinch hitter. He gets the hit. He scores Soler. And I was thinking when they brought him in, I go, who the hell is going to go into the outfield? Because all you got is Matos and Ramos. You have no more outfielders, at least by trade.
Right.
Right? You could put Flores over at first base and send Wade into the outfield.
True.
You could do that.
Yep.
That was my guess as to what they were going to do. That's not what they do, because then Flores gets on, and he's slow. So we're going to pinch run Luciano, and I go, oh, now you can't put Flores in. So what? Hey, hot shot.
Totally.
What are you going to do?
Right.
And so what they did was they put Wisely from short into center field and put Luciano at short, which was not what you would normally want to do for a 9th inning, 1-run game defensive replacement situation. But, hey, you were trying to rally back, and you did. So you went for it, and you almost got burned.
Right.
So
you got saved by your catcher and his gun.
Yes.
Bailey throws out the would-be base stealer.
So I think the normal is going to be the inverse of that, which is Luciano start most of the games at short. Ahmed can spell him. You can have certain days where Ahmed is the shortstop for sure. But Luciano, your normal shortstop. However, the defensive replacement game is going to be in full effect.
Yeah, I like your...
Camilo Doval never has Luciano as his shortstop.
No.
Never.
Well, and if I'm Logan Webb, I don't want him as my shortstop either because I'm a ground ball pitcher.
Well, and maybe that's Ahmed Day.
Right.
That almost like guys have personal catchers. Maybe Logan Webb gets a personal shortstop.
Your solution is better than mine. My solution is slightly different, which is let Jorge Soler play the outfield. He's played a ton of outfield. He's been an outfielder.
Wow.
He plays
Wait a minute.
the outfield.
Which outfielder are you benching?
Put him in left. And
Where's Ramos going?
You give Ramos a day.
Where's Conforto
and
going?
Luciano's the DH.
Where's Yaz going?
Well, I mean, this would be a time when you're facing a lefty and you have your right-hand hitting lineup.
So Soler is only facing lefties now? He's an everyday guy.
He is, but at times, if you want to give Luciano a chance to not have to field, you let him DH. And you put Soler out in left. Get your glove, Jorge. Get out there and catch a few fly balls.
You're like, we can't have this Luciano guy in the field because
he's a liability.
He's got a bad glove. So, Jorge, get out and left. Oh, God.
Let's go, Jorge. Guy's played outfield his whole career.
No. Yeah, you're right.
Your solution is better. Yeah, I do like yours better.
Let's go to the Truth on 101. Hey, Truth, what are you doing?
What's up, guys? Thanks for taking the call. I got two back-to-back roster comments because he left us hanging on the Warriors a little bit. I'll keep it quick on the Warriors side. I don't think the fan and the sports media narrative matches what the Warriors' internal thought process is. And I'm not saying it's what should happen, but the way I look at it, I have a probably unpopular perspective. The Warriors are probably operating from a place of flexibility and strength and possibility rather than desperation. Because if they didn't play a 7-game playoff series, and they only had that full roster for a limited time, and they were one of the toughest teams in the NBA by any metrics, offensively and defensively, when they had their full roster. So while we would like to see something a little bit sexier happen, and if they're going to make moves based on what the options are. They may be huge shakeups. We may get virtually the same roster back and everything in between, so I just wanted to throw that out there, and it's not as bleak as people think if that does happen. The issue they had is they didn't have a second go-to scorer, and how tough it can be for Steph in crunch time because of his size to be the number one. If they establish that that's Kuminga and they roll with that, maybe it's not as big of a problem next year. But as for the Giants, Luciano, I'm with you guys both just said while I was waiting on break, both points I wanted to make about Luciano. You have to roll with him. Matos, Ramos, Luciano, at least for now, they've got to play every day. Those OPSs stay even over 700. They need to stay out there because the alternatives are sub 600, which is pathetic. And I played college baseball as a shortstop. Defensive, not that that's a huge deal, but I have familiarity with the position, and defense was my strength. And I will tell you the biggest misnomer is an infielder, and it's different as a shortstop at any of the other positions because of the distance you have to throw. The toughest play by far is an average hit ball right at you, and it's because of your eyes. You cannot tell where the bounces are. You don't know. You have to change your perspective of where your eyes are. So the two techniques are called circling the ball, where you actually have to step towards third base and change your perspective and then start moving your body towards first. Or you have to just stay with your hands way out front like Brandon Crawford did. But most of the plays that really good shortstops get eaten up on are those plays. Every error I ever made in my entire career, and I'm not exaggerating, was an average speed hit ball at me. Because if it's hit slower, you know to charge. If it's hit faster, you just react. It's not even a thought process. But that first step and that first read off the first bounce off the bat is critical. And when it's hit right at you at an average speed, you don't know. You really don't know. So he can learn that footwork. He's not doing it right now. I'm with that other caller. But I think the solution is what both of you said. He's got to run out there. He's got to play every day. If you got a lead going into the ninth, you go to a defensive player, Ahmed. And then if Logan Webb being the only ground ball pitcher we have, you can mix Ahmed or somebody else you feel stable with there. But you're just going to have to let
Whoop. Yeah.
years and then reassess.
We're starting to lose you there a little
Thank
bit,
you,
Truth,
brother.
but you made a bunch of great points. Yeah, absolutely. I mean,
So the toughest play is the one that's hit medium speed right at you?
right at you, and that is somewhat true because it's harder to react to. It's almost like a fly ball or a line drive in the outfield that gets hit right at you. You kind of freeze for a moment because the depth perception is a little bit harder. So, and I do think athletes, what makes them great is their reaction time. And when a ball is hit up the middle and you're a shortstop, your athleticism takes over because you're just reacting. But when you do get that ball hit right at you, sometimes instead of the physical side of it taking over, the mental side of it takes over.
Right.
And it does look like that's where he's struggling a little bit. That's not to excuse these errors. You can't do it.
Yeah.
You cannot do this.
Well, and he made an error and a half the other day because he made the big error, and then the next one was a pretty much a cookie cutter double play ball, and he made a bad throw to second base that prevented them from turning two.
I'm glad you brought that up again because I watched that play again. They weren't going to turn two. That he was running two, like they weren't going to get him. I don't think that was going to be a double play.
He made it certain that they weren't going to get it.
He may not have made a great throw. That I don't argue with.
And I'm playing off of FP's analysis, a guy who played shortstop, and he's talking about the throw to the outfield side of the base, and that all but guaranteed that you weren't going to make that happen.
Absolutely.
And I just see a guy who he looks awkward out there. He looks stiff and unsure of himself at shortstop. And I know he's only 22, but he's played, 5 years now of pro baseball? And he's only played shortstop, so
off and on, right?
I would figure that he would look more comfortable at this position than he does.
You would think, although no matter what you've done, I mean, again, this is not to excuse can of corn ground balls at the big leagues. Like you, of course, you have to make that play. It's not to excuse it. However, I don't know how many times we need to hear this. You can be seasoned with Lowry salt for years, and it does not matter. When the bright lights come on, and it's different. And I'm not thinking that it's a coincidence that these ground balls have both happened in the ninth inning of close ball games. Like, I think there's a little bit of a gag factor that has gone on with these. Marco can field that ground ball. He can field that ground ball. But I think that one begets another because it starts to get into your head a little bit.
Yeah.
And you start to get to that, like, I don't want the ball hit to me sort of a thought process. And that sets you up for more. And that's, by the way, I would argue that's yet another reason to not send him down. This is not about go back to Sacramento and work on it. No. I would argue that all year long, the Giants have already fed this guy's mental side with a bunch of bad stuff.
Getting passed over for Casey Schmidt, not starting the year in the bigs.
You're our starter. Let's sign Ahmed. Go to Sacramento.
Yeah.
Ahmed gets hurt. Let's call up Casey Schmidt. Good God. I think it's time for the Giants to do exactly what Bobby Evans came on this show and said to do with your farm players. Show faith in your guys. He has had two huge errors, and the Giants need to respond to that by starting him at shortstop tomorrow against the New York Mets at Citi Field. That's exactly what they need to do.
And that's what they will do.
Hey, Marco, we believe in you. We know you're going to get the next ground ball. There ain't no way in hell you're doing the ninth, but you're going to do the first,
right,
and the second and the third and the fourth and the fifth. And see if
we'll let you know about the 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th. We'll get back to you.
Well, look,
And the bat is live. He's hitting .333, and he's been a threat at the plate.
Brother, the OPS numbers for these three players don't lie.
Right.
Okay? Marco Luciano, and again, I've always sort of looked at 750 is when you're good.
You're good, yeah.
700 is when you're fine. 750 is when you're good. If you're north of 800, you rolling. To give you all some reference, Lamont Wade's at 911, okay? He's at 911. He's crushing it.
That's all-star level.
Yes. Marco Luciano is at 873. Luis Matos is at 837. And Elliot Ramos is at 808. Now, here's something I also want everyone to remember, though. Guess who is the one player who is sandwiched between those three players in the OPS list for the Giants. It literally goes in order. It goes Luciano, then Matos, then blank, and then Ramos. Would anybody like to raise their hand with a guess as to who that person is?
Between Luciano's
at 873, Matos is at 837, blank is at 821, and Ramos is at 808.
Jeez, blank is at 821?
Blank is at 821. OPS, which is, I think, the overall best indicator in today's
of
sport
production, yeah,
as to who's producing. So right now, Casali's at 940.
Yeah.
Forget that.
Well, we're doing small samples, so you should include him.
No,
because his sample's not much smaller than the other guys.
Correct. Well, it's not that much smaller than Luciano's.
Yeah.
Matos and Ramos are getting up there.
A little bit.
Yeah, 45 at bats, 54 at bats. Luciano's only got 18. Casali's got 13. His OPS is 940. Lamont Wade's the true leader. He's at 911. Then Luciano at 873. Then Matos at 837. Then blank at 821. Then Ramos at 808. Then Bailey at 807.
Right.
Those are their north of 800 OPS players.
It's got to be Conforto then. He's the only one missing.
You damn right it is. So stop planning on benching him. I want to know.
Conforto, he's not getting benched.
Well, a lot of people have been like, you're not benching Ramos. So I'd argue the name that we haven't brought up yet that right now, could be looking at a bench role is Mike Yastrzemski.
Yeah.
It's not Michael Conforto. Just because Ramos is out there and left does not mean that they can't move him right over to right.
Totally.
Or Conforto. Conforto played right field a lot of last year.
Yeah.
So
Yaz, and you want to talk OPS? He's at 631.
631.
And he strikes out seemingly every time that he is up to bat.
43 times in 125 at bats.
Yeah, that's not great, Mark.
Not great.
It's not. That's once in every 3 ABs, and the power has not been. The power's not been great this year. And you mentioned the OPS is 631. Soler is another guy who 669.
But he's starting to climb.
He's starting to climb.
He's had a good week. Ever since he came back from the injury,
right.
I like his at-bats.
In a double today, as he's starting to, rack up a little bit more extra bases, and that thing was scorched.
Yeah, can you look? Do you know where to find, specific exit velocity on specific hits?
Yeah, I'll see if I can come up with that.
Soler's double in the 8th inning was like a 5-hopper to the wall, but it got there in 1.4 seconds. I mean...
I got it at 110.6 today.
Bullet. Absolute seed.
110.6. The Joey Bart Salami, 109.7. And then Elliot Ramos had one at 105.
So Soler's was the hardest hit ball
Hardest hit ball in the ball game.
Yeah,
yep.
There you go. If he had gotten under that another centimeter, that thing would have been 25 rows deep.
Yeah.
He crushed that thing. So he's starting to have good at-bats. I got no issues right now with Jorge Soler. But
I'm looking at top pitch velocity from today's game. Skeens.
Oh, yeah.
100, 99.8.
Yep.
Skeen.
But you know what else? Like Luis Matos opens up the game, and everyone's like, Paul Skeens. Whoop, base hit.
Yep.
Right out of the gate. So, look, there's a new swag for the team, and if you want, obviously there are going to be changes every day. But I think what we're tracking toward, potentially, on most nights, this could be, if things go well, this could be the Giants lineup on most nights going forward. Okay? Conforto in left, Matos in center, Ramos in right, Chapman at third, Luciano at shortstop for the first 7.5 innings.
Depending on where you're playing.
Tyro's at second, Wade is at first, Bailey's behind the plate. Nick Ahmed is a defensive replacement. Wilmer Flores is your top right-handed pinch hitter.
Yep. Yaz is your left-hand pinch hitter.
Yaz is your top left-handed pinch hitter. Slater, I'm a little worried about you. I don't know where we're going.
Go on.
Wisely can get optioned.
Well, he's a good utility guy. So if I had a choice between Slater and Wisely right now, I would take Wisely.
Well, I mean, he can
Wisely can do more for you.
Infield and outfield, and is left-handed.
Right.
Which, as you're saying, Yaz would kind of become the only left-handed guy. But that's your group. That's your group.
Yep.
So when Ahmed comes back, and by the way, yeah, I got to figure out who would get sent out. You know, when Ahmed comes back, is it Wisely? When Slater comes back, is it Slater? I don't know.
That's a tough one because when you send out Slater, that's it. He's gone.
Correct. Right. There's no options there.
Yeah, and
maybe
I would imagine
it's a reliever. I don't know. I don't think they want to do that though.
No, especially with a bullpen that feels like it's beleaguered, and you need to have as many arms as you can.
Totally. Blake Snell on the paternity list.
Yeah,
he's supposed to make his next start, but they do have an extra reliever right now because he got put on the paternity list.
Right.
So there's that. Mike in Santa Clara next up on Willard and Dibs. Hi, Mike.
Hey, guys. Second time calling in today on the last show, but
at the end, Mike, at the end of the call, will you tell us which call you liked better?
Oh man, I'm going to love you guys. I'll tell you right now, I'm going to love you guys even more.
There you go. So. Okay, perfect. We'll let Steiny know. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, fair enough. No, I just want to say, look, I'm loving the fact that we're actually finally seeing the young players play. I don't care right now. Look, we're not going to win it. Like, I'll be honest, I'm a diehard Giants fan. We're not going to win it this year. We're not going to. But I want to see, and I'm actually happy that we're finally seeing the young players get a chance to freaking play. We really are. And I want to see exactly what they do because, you get called up to the major leagues. It's a big step being in the minors at that point. And you know what? At that point, there's a lot of pressure on every single player. And I love what I've seen from Ramos Matos. And I said it on the previous, I saw on the Steiny and Guru call. I know it wasn't Guru, but you know what I mean.
Yep.
But, just saying, I even said, let Luciano play, man. Just let him play. I don't know if it's nerves or what, or obviously playing shortstop, which is not his normal position. Just let him play. Let the boys play, man. That's all I got to say. Thanks, guys.
Mike, wonderful. And I know a lot of people agree with that, but here's what I would say, though. Let him play, but also not at the expense of games, and that's why right now that would be my maneuver with Luciano. I'm playing him at shortstop until the game gets tight and late, and then I'm yanking him.
Yeah.
And we're going to
do a lot for the kid's confidence.
Well, no, but hey, you get to stay in the bigs, and you get to bat
I get it. You don't have to convince me. But we're trying to build up the confidence, and yet he's going to be looking over his shoulder in the seventh.
Well, look, you kick 2 ground balls like that, they could send him to Sacramento. So I'd argue that's your starting shortstop. We're also basing that off 18 at-bats. This could go a certain way. He could end up really struggling at home plate as well, which would change this conversation. But as long as he hits, I think he's the starting shortstop, and Nick Ahmed can be a spell him and defensive replacement type of a guy.